Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth, and salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua to me and listen. May the blessing of election be over your house. My name is Brother Okwai. I'm back in here with another lesson, and for today's lesson, I'm going to be going through a couple things. Money, the Roman Empire, and how this relates to current events. So what inspired me to do this lesson was the fact that we have a financial crisis brewing in the United States right now in regards to this Silicon Valley Bank, right? So what I wanted to do was parallel that with what happened in the ancient Roman Empire, right? Because the scriptures say that which is then is now, and there is no new thing under the sun, right? So just to show you the parallels of what happened then versus what is happening now, right? So let's get into another point I wanted to also make in this lesson is examples of real riches, not the the so-called money that we use today, right? Because that money that we use, it's there is no financial there is no intrinsic backing, right? Essentially they're just receipts, right? There's nothing to actually substantiate the actual note that we have in our wallets today, right? So without further ado, let me just jump right into the word. Let me get to the word intrinsic, right? So here it says interior and inward, internal, inner, inwardly on the inside, within, alongside, right? So this is something that has a has substance, has value, right? So those examples of things that are intrinsically valuable are things like the scriptures talk about gold, silver, sheep, cattle, oxen, so on and so forth, right? So these are things that are substance that have value that can make money, right? So as a matter of fact, let's get a precept, right, of an example of these real riches, right? Not the riches that we have, we have or are using today. Okay, so this is this is Job chapter 1 verse 3, and it reads, his substance was 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, and 500 yoke of oxen, 500 she asses, and a very great household, so that this man was the greatest of all the men of the East, right? So I wanted to bring this up because Job was an example of somebody who had a lot of these riches, right? And this is what brings money in, right? It's not just these are things that have intrinsic inner value, right? Not just receipts that we carry today. Right? Let me get that actually in the blue letter real quickly and see what it says for the word substance. Right? So here it says cattle, livestock in general of a purchasable domestic animal, right? So a possession, a purchase, right? So these are things you can use and you can get it, and it's you can exchange it, for something of value, right? So these are things that are actually examples of things that actually have intrinsic value. So let me go through this article. It's an article shortly about the Roman coin, the denarius, right, and the gold coin, the Arius, right? So it's a bit of a lengthy article, so I'm just going to go through it just a little bit here and there. So just bear with me, but Yahweh Ratazah, this video will be edifying, right? Okay, so here it says riches. actually, let me expand this. Hopefully that's easier. So here it says, riches to rags. During Rome's expansion, tax revenue covered imperial expenditures. Some situations, such as war, infrastructure projects, and the natural disasters, push expenditures over revenue, but the Roman government will always cover the difference with wealth produced from gold and silver, mines, or conquered enemies, right? So as the Rome reached its zenith in 117 AD, the Roman emperors encountered an ever-growing list of expenses without revenue to match, right? So the expenditures outweighed the revenue, right? The Roman military industrial complex perpetually added costs without ever reducing them. New borders needed protecting, enemies needed fighting, new trade routes needed building. Eventually, the Romans ran out of ways to finance their expenditures. Despite having a large taxable population, right? So here we're going to go more into debasing the currency, because this is what happened actually in the Roman Empire, right? Debasing the currency means reducing the value of the currency unit. This allows the government to pay off the same nominal expenditures with less valuable currency. So what happened was, as a matter of fact, I'm going to read it and then I'm going to get a quick scripture, right? So let's get this example of Nero, right? So Nero was one of the emperors during I believe it was the Claudian dynasty. Yeah, Claudian dynasty, right? In 54 AD, Emperor Nero took power. Conflicts across the empire drained Rome's coffers during this period, including Roman-Parthian War, the Great Jewish Revolt, and several civil wars. In July of 64 AD, the Great Fire of Rome destroyed 2/3 of the city. To cover his expenditures, Emperor Nero instituted the first round of denarius debasement. Historians estimate Nero reduced the coin's silver content by 20%. So now we see that the coin actually itself is being tarnished, right? So let's get a scripture real quick. Okay, so this is Proverbs 11 verse 1, and it reads, "A false balance is an abomination to the Lord. However, but a just weight is his delight," right? So this is an example of a false balance, because what is listed and as the coin's value, the content, that silver content, is being reduced, right? So what you have now is unjust weights. And the reason I'm bringing this up is the fact that this is the very same thing that is happening today, right? Right. So here I'm going to show a quick graph of the grams of silver from the coin denarius. So you can picture that. Imagine the denarius is kind of like a like your $1 essentially, right? So right here you have, okay, here's what we read. Nero starts to debasing the coin of the denarius, and then here it reduces even more under Septimius. So this is Roman Empire falling. This is after the 12 Caesars, and Caracalla strikes the double denarius in 215 AD, right? And Caracalla is the son of Septimius, right? So here it says, as a matter of fact, this is one of my favorite scriptures, but let me just grab this one real quick before I continue. So this is Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9, and it reads, "The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be, and that which is done, is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. Verse 10. Is there anything whereof may be said, see, this is new, it hath already been of old time, which was before us, right? So this is an example of something that has been before, right? Let's see, let's continue. So here it just goes more into different emperors and what they faced and them debasing the currency, right? Okay, so this is very interesting as well. During his reign in the early 4th century, Constantine the Great began to the process of building a new empire. In 312 AD, he introduced the gold's solidus coin in effort to reestablish the scarcity of the trust in the Roman currency, right? And let's go down here. It reads, let's see. Okay, so here it speaks more on the debasement of the currency, and why I want to bring up that scripture, because you've seen that, in today's society, especially with America, and America had a system known as the gold standard, right? However, in the 1970s, under President Richard Nixon, that gold standard was what happened to that? That gold standard was removed, right? So you had America, hogging, a lot of these countries' reserves of gold, and then what they were handing out were just these receipts in the shape of all these different paper notes that we have, but the paper notes are not redeemable. That's the point I'm trying to get at, right? And what they do in solving all this debt is they keep printing this paper notes, but the paper notes are not worth anything, because there is no gold behind it to substantiate this amount of debt that they're continuing to accumulate, right? So let's get as a matter of fact, hang on. Let me get it in the BLB. Let's see. This is Habakkuk 2, verse 6. In the KJV, it reads, shall not all these take up a parable against him, and a taunting proverb against him, and say, woe unto him that increaseth which is not his. How long to him that ladeth himself with thick clay? Right? So these refers to these elites, man. That's that keeps accumulating all this this debt. That's what the thick clay refers to, right? So to prove my point, let's go down to the clay. So here it reads, it says heavy debts, right? And just like in the Roman Empire, and just like the point I was bringing out before, they had all this expenditures and different expenses that they had to pay for, and maintaining the military and maintaining their relationship with all these different vassal states, and maintaining all this territory, but they could not. The expenditures outweighed the revenue that was being generated, right? And then what happens eventually? People begin to revert back to their own um, ancient ways of actually trading, such as bartering, right? So, for you brothers and for sisters that might be grown up in the islands, or if your parents grew up in the islands, that was one of the ways that, our people used to trade, right? And going back to that substance was one of the things that we used to trade, right? Let's get another, because this was an old ancient way we used to actually use to actually exchange goods and services, right? It's called bartering. This is Jeremiah 6, verse 16, and it reads, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, stand ye in the ways and seek and ask for the old paths. Where is the good way, and walk therein? Ye and shall find rest for your souls." And they said, "We will not walk therein." So this is one of the examples of the ancient ways, of the ways things were done back in those times, right? So, anyways, that's probably about it. I don't have anything else I wanted to bring out in regards to this. This is a very good article. I just wanted to read it. Just hit a couple points here and there. But as a matter of fact, let's get another scripture real quick. Okay, this is Proverbs 29, verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, right? Because, and this is the problem with, society today, because, the righteous people, the Israelites, we are not in rulership because, we have the law, statutes, and commandments, to be able to usher forth to actually work in tandem with the earth, right? Work in tandem with the people, right? We have systems that are set up in place to actually make sure that the people, poor people, are actually taken care of, right? However, in a society like this, that creates all these unjust weights, and there's no substantial backing for the things that they're for the things that they're selling, it creates all this confusion and disorder, right? And this is one of the reasons the nations are mad, because when for example, when President Nixon removed the gold standard, you have all that money and you kept all that all that gold and all those riches, but these countries, for example France, they never got their gold back, right? So this is one of the reasons these nations are upset and angry with America, right? But when the wicked are beareth rule, the people mourn, and people are mourning right now, because things are the prices for things are through the roof, and people can't afford to actually make a decent living, right? The purchase power of their the so-called currency in their pocket has lost a lot of its purchase power, because it doesn't get you as much as it used to, right? Anyways, actually, let me just bring out one more quick script, and that would be the end of it. Actually, this is Jeremiah 51, verse 7, and it reads, "Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord Yahweh's hand, that made the whole earth drunken." And how was the world made drunk? All these different philosophies and ways that America has pushed upon these people, right? Democracy, the homosexuality, the alphabet lifestyle, these are the ways that have made these other countries drunk, right? Giving women all this freedom, so on and so forth. And the nations have drunken of the wine representation of philosophies. Therefore, the nations are mad. So one of the reasons I wanted to bring this out was because one of the reasons the nations are mad because America has taken all of those riches, all that gold from them, over the past few years prior to the 1970s, and what they have done is, they've held on to it, right? So of course, these nations are going to want a recompense, right? So, anyways, hopefully this video was edifying. There's a little bit more I would want to go into, but I don't want to make this too long. But I just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us the truth. Until next time, I say Shalom.